The alien ship Kravix moved through deep space, far from any star, silent and dark. Inside the cold metal walls of the prison section, a single human sat chained in a containment cell. The chains were thick, made of a special alloy meant to hold creatures 10 times stronger than humans. The human didn't move. He just sat there, quiet, his head down. The Gorthan soldiers who captured him stood outside the cell watching him through a glass wall. One of them, Commander Rilvax, smirked. "This is the best Earth has," he asked. "They fall apart too easily." The others laughed. The human didn't even flinch. Commander Rilvax walked closer and tapped on the glass. "Hey, Earth creature, are you deaf? Do you not understand us?" Still no answer. The human just kept looking at the floor. His short hair was messy, his face calm, not afraid. He had cuts on his arms and a bruise near his eye, but he looked more like someone waiting than someone broken. Lieutenant Varric leaned in and whispered, "He hasn't eaten or spoken since we brought him in. No screams during the scans. No cries. When we pulled out the data from his neural implants. It's strange." Rilvax waved it off. "He's broken inside. They all break." But Varric wasn't so sure. Something about the human silence was wrong. Most prisoners begged, some screamed, others tried to escape, but not this one. He just waited. The ship's AI sent a message across the intercom. "Containment systems are stable. Prisoner remains secured." But right after that, the lights flickered. Just for a second. Then they came back. "Minor glitch," said Rilvax. "Have engineering check it." In the command deck above, the Gorthan captain sat in his chair, staring at a screen showing the human cell. "Zoom in on his face," he ordered. The image sharpened. The human was smiling, not a wide grin, just a small smile at the corner of his lips. The captain didn't like it. "Put him in deeper lock." "No chances. I want extra guards." 3 soldiers moved down the hall to enter the cell. The door slid open with a hiss. The lights flickered again. The guards hesitated but walked in. The human didn't move. He was still chained. They checked his restraints. All looked normal. One guard leaned in and whispered, "What are you smiling at?" The human slowly raised his head and locked eyes with him. "Too late," he said in a quiet, flat voice. The cell door slammed shut. In the control room, alarms began flashing red. "Containment breach detected," the AI reported, but the screen showed no movement, no sign of struggle. Just static. Commander Rilvax grabbed his communicator. "Guards, report." No answer. "Guards, say something." Silence. Then the lights shut off completely. For 10 long seconds, the ship floated in total darkness. Emergency lights finally came on, red and dim. The screen showed nothing but black where the prison cameras had been. No one could see what was happening inside. "Get the backup feed," Rilvax shouted. "Offline," the tech officer replied. "It's like someone wiped it." In the prison corridor, Lieutenant Varric stepped forward, staring at the locked door. He took a slow breath and whispered, "They're gone." Commander Rilvax turned. "What?" Varric looked him in the eyes. "The guards, the human, everyone." "In that room? Gone?" "No," Rilvax barked. "That's impossible. He was chained. There were cameras. He can't just vanish."
Ouch.
But the evidence said otherwise. The cell was empty now. No guards. No chains. No human. Nothing. "Sealed the sector," the captain ordered from the bridge. "Lock it down. Full alert." The ship's AI responded. Alert mode activated. "Intruder detected in engineering bay." Did he get there?" the captain asked, rising to his feet. "There are no open paths." The engineer's voice came through next, panicked. "He's here." Static. Then silence. The AI tried to scan the ship, but got nothing. "Intruder. Cannot be located." The human had vanished again. All over the Kravax, doors began to malfunction. Lights dimmed. Systems failed. The crew ran through the halls trying to regroup. But every time they moved, another system went down. In the medical bay, a doctor locked the door and whispered, "We should have killed him when we had the chance." In the cafeteria, soldiers sat with weapons ready, staring at the door. afraid to blink. In the command deck, the captain stared at the screen, where again the human's face appeared, this time not from a camera, but in the ship's mainframe. His face was cold, calm. Behind him, shadows moved, but no one could tell what they were. The captain whispered, "What are you?" The human answered, in the same flat voice, "I'm what you made me." The screen went black. The captain stood. "Frozen. Evacuate the ship." "We can't," replied his officer. "Escape pods are gone." "Gone? What do you mean gone?" "Missing, disconnected, some destroyed, some just not there anymore." The AI spoke again. "Power core critical, systems collapsing. Self-repair failing. Recommend immediate." "Surrender," the captain shouted. "Surrender to who?" But he was wrong. The human was still on board. Somewhere. In the walls, watching, waiting. And as the Kravax drifted farther from the nearest star, the rest of the Gorthon. Fleet listened in horror as the last signal came through. "You took one of us." The silence on the Kravax was heavy. No footsteps. No voices. Just the soft hum of failing systems and flickering red lights in the dark hallways. The ship had become a tomb floating in space. No one knew what happened inside. No one knew where. The human went. Lieutenant Varric stood outside the empty cell, holding his plasma rifle tight. He didn't blink. His finger was on the trigger, and sweat rolled down his back. 3 guards had walked into that cell. Now they were gone. No screams, no sounds, no bodies, nothing. He tapped his earpiece. "Commander Rilvax, this is Varric. I'm outside the cell. The prisoner is gone." "I repeat, he's gone," Rilvax answered, his voice shaking. "Do not enter." "Say again, do not enter. Fall back to the command deck." Varric didn't move. He looked through the clear panel again. The chains were still hanging, broken. But there were no signs of a fight. It was like the human had just vanished. He turned slowly to retreat. Then he heard a sound behind him, a whisper. He spun around and aimed his weapon. Nothing was there. The hallway was empty, but the whisper came again. This time it said his name. "Varric." He froze. His heart pounded. "Who's there?" No answer. He started walking back, faster now, then broke into a run. As he passed one corner, the lights flickered again. When they came back on, a message had been written on the wall in black ash. "You opened the door." Varric backed away. Breathing hard, turned and ran. Meanwhile, on the command deck, Commander Rilvax stood in front of the ship's crew, trying to stay calm. "He's just a man," he said. "He bleeds. Dies like the rest." "But sir," said the communications. "Officer, the internal sensors don't see him. It's like he's not on board. He has to be. We haven't docked. We haven't left the ship." The captain stepped forward. "This is no normal human. Earth sent us something else. Something they built. Rilvax frowned. The captain nodded. "I've heard rumors. From old battle files. From colonies that vanished. Some said Earth had a secret program. Human weapon. That's just propaganda. Maybe, maybe not. But what we're seeing now isn't normal." They played back the last transmission again. The one where the humans spoke directly into their systems. "You took one of us." No static. No signal drops. Just a clear voice. And then everything went dark. "We have to find him," the captain said, "before he takes the rest of the crew." Below the command deck, in engineering, the last 2 engineers tried to reroute power. They didn't speak. Their hands moved. Fast. Systems were failing. The engines had dropped offline. If they couldn't fix it soon, the Kravax would be dead in space. Suddenly, a hatch opened behind them with a loud hiss. They turned quickly. One of them raised a welding torch. But no one was there. They checked the crawl space. Empty. They sealed it again and turned back to their work. But now, only one of them stood. The other was gone. Not a sound, not a scream. Just gone. The last engineer backed away, terrified. "Help," he whispered into his cum. But the line was dead. He turned around slowly. The human stood 2 meters behind him. Eyes cold, body calm. No weapon. No armor. Just eyes that didn't blink. The engineer tried to run, but the lights cut off again. When they came back on, engineering was empty. Everywhere on the Kravoks, the crew panicked. Doors refused to open. Some sealed shut forever. Others opened and closed on their own. Lights flickered like strobe lights. Alarms rang but gave no reason, and no matter where they hid, the crew started to hear the whispers. The human didn't speak often, but when he did, it was always close, always just behind. On the bridge, the captain ordered the AI to lock every section, seal off everything but this deck. Command accepted, the AI replied. Then it paused. Error deck 5. Breached. Who breached it? The captain asked. The AI didn't answer. Then it said something strange. Subject is walking through walls. What? Subject is passing through sealed doors. Systems show all barriers intact. However, subject is now on deck 4. Rilvax looked at the captain. That's 1 floor below us. The captain turned to the crew. Get every weapon we have. Ready stun charges, gas, electric fields, everything. If he gets up here, we don't survive. The AI said, subject now on deck 3. One of the officers whispered, he's climbing. The captain whispered back, he's hunting. Suddenly, the lights flickered again. Then the AI spoke in a low, strange voice. But it wasn't the AI anymore. You put chains on me. Now I break yours. The entire ship shook. Systems crashed. Panels sparked. Screens went black. Then one screen came back on. A live camera feed. The human stood in the hallway outside the bridge. No armor, no tools, just standing there. Staring at the door, he didn't blink. He didn't move. The crew stared at the screen. In horror, seal the bridge, Rilvax shouted. The door began to close, but it stopped halfway. The human didn't come in. He just smiled. Then he vanished. The screen went black again. Someone whispered, he's toying with us, Commander. Rilvax turned, face pale. This isn't a soldier. This is something worse. On the other side of the door, in the silent hallway, the human moved like a shadow. He walked calmly, no footsteps, no sound. He passed rooms where crew members had hidden. He left messages scratched into the walls. One by one, you opened the door. Now I walk through yours. Back on Earth, a secret satellite received the last transmission from the Kravoks. A deep, dark signal. A voice. Stage 1, complete. Then the Kravoks went silent. The Gorthan Empire tried to reach it. No. Answer. Not from the crew, not from the AI. Not from anyone, as far as the Empire could tell. The ship still floated in space, empty, and far below their sensors. One escape pod drifted away, cloaked and cold, with one human inside, eyes closed, waiting for the next target. Deep in Gorthan space, a massive communication hub known as Relay Station 12 floated silently in orbit around a dead moon. It received messages from across the Empire and passed them along to command. On this day, it caught something strange. The signal came from the KRAVX. It wasn't a normal message. It wasn't a distress call or a battle report. It was a whisper short, broken and full of static. We caught a human, please. Send help or mercy. Then nothing. Commander Trevik, stationed at the relay, played it back 3 times. This has to be a joke, he muttered. But deep inside, he knew it wasn't. The Kravoks had gone dark 3 cycles ago. No reports, no signals. An entire Gorthon. Dreadnought, missing. Now this, he forwarded the message to High Command and ordered a scout ship to investigate. As the scout launched, Trevik stared at the transmission logs. The Kravoks had sent no location data, no coordinates, just that one. Message, send help, or mercy. It didn't sound like a war report, it sounded like fear. Back on the Kravoks, the silence still ruled. Lights flickered, walls sparked, and the once-proud warship drifted without engines. The human moved through the ship like a ghost. No camera saw him for more than a second. No door could stop him. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He just walked in. With every step, something died. In the science bay, 5 Gorthan technicians had sealed themselves inside. They blocked the doors, disabled external control, and turned off all access systems. No one could get in, at least. That's what they believed. They sat in silence, each holding a weapon. They hadn't slept. They hadn't eaten. They just stared at the door then. A soft knock. One of them jumped. "Did you hear that?" Another one nodded. "Impossible. No one can get in." The knock came again, but it wasn't at the door. It was from inside the room. They turned together slowly. On the far wall, a single word had been burned into the metal knock. The lights shut off. None of them made it out. Elsewhere, Commander Rilvac sat alone in a weapons locker. His hand shook as he reloaded his rifle. His face was pale. His armor was scratched and dented. He had seen something his mind couldn't explain. He wasn't the same soldier anymore. He had watched the human walk through a sealed door. He had seen bullets pass through the man like smoke. He had fired, and nothing had happened. He had run, but the human was already there, waiting for him in the next hall. Now, Rilvax hid like a coward, and he knew it wouldn't save him. A monitor blinked on the wall beside him. It shouldn't have turned on. He hadn't touched anything, but there it was. The human's face, a calm and close, staring directly into the camera. Then came the voice. "Cold and quiet, you broke the rules. Now I break the walls." The screen cracked, then it shattered. Rilvac screamed. The AI, still barely working, tried to report the situation to the bridge. Core systems failing, life support damaged, ship integrity at 40%. The captain leaned over a flickering console. "Is the human still on board?" The AI hesitated, and it answered yes. "Where?" The AI paused again. "Everywhere." "Do you mean?" "I detect movement in multiple decks at the same time. Either the subject has multiplied, or he is no longer limited by space." The captain gritted his teeth. "Nothing is above the laws of physics." But the AI replied, "Physics have already failed." The captain turned to his officers. "Prepare the self-destruct, sir," one asked, shocked. "If we can't kill him, we won't give him the ship." "No," a voice whispered behind them. They turned, but no one was there. The voice came again, closer. "No, you will give me everything." The lights burst overhead. Panels exploded. The bridge filled with smoke. When the backup lights returned, every officer was gone. The captain stood alone. In front of him stood the human. His body was still. His eyes were like black glass, empty, cold, endless. "You think this is about revenge?" the human asked. The captain raised his weapon, but his hand froze. His body wouldn't move. The human stepped closer, speaking calmly. "You think Earth sent me to kill you?" The captain couldn't answer. He couldn't speak. He could barely breathe. The human leaned in and whispered, "I'm not here to kill you. I'm here to remind you that you're already dead." Then he was gone. The captain collapsed to the floor, gasping, on the outer hull of the Kravax. One of the emergency escape pods suddenly launched. It didn't show any life signs. It didn't send any ID code. It just drifted away from the dead ship, cloaked in shadow, high above the Kravax. Probe from the Gorthan scout ship approached. It scanned the wreck. No life detected. No signs of energy. Just a message scratched into the hull. "This was your first warning." The scout ship turned back, afraid to go closer. They didn't know what happened inside the Kravax. They didn't know what escaped, but the Gorthan Empire soon would. Because all across the outer colonies, strange things began to happen. First it was small. Lights flickering, data wiped. Officers disappearing, then larger things. Ships lost. Bases going silent, cities emptied overnight, and in every place a single message was left behind. "You took one of us, now I take one of you." The human didn't need warships. He didn't need armies. He was the weapon, and the galaxy was finally beginning to understand. They had made a mistake. The Gorthon High Command watched the footage from the Kravax in complete silence. The room was large, filled with sharp lights and cold metal. Generals, scientists, and intelligence officers stood frozen, staring at the cracked, flickering video feed. The human's face appeared for just 2 seconds. Eyes calm, expression flat. Then static, General Morvix finally spoke. That was the last image before the ship went dark. Yes, sir, replied an officer. Nothing after that. No life signs. No transmissions. Just silence. About the escape pod? Morvix asked. Still drifting? Cloaked? We're tracking it, but something strange happened. What? The officer looked nervous. Every system we used to scan it failed. Some burned out. One even exploded. Morvix's eyes narrowed. That pod is carrying something or someone. We believe it's him, sir. General turned to the Science Council. What? Was he? Just a human soldier? The lead scientist shook his head. No, this wasn't just a soldier. This was Earth's Echo Protocol. The room went even quieter. You mean the legend? Someone asked. That project doesn't exist. The scientist tapped his screen and brought up a blurry document labeled Project Revenant. Echo Protocol activated. It does exist, he said. We never believed it, but now we've seen it. This was a human built for destruction. Not just trained, but changed. Changed how? They enhanced him mentally, physically, and technologically. His mind was fused with quantum AI, his body reinforced on a molecular level. And his orders were clear if captured. Activate Protocol Zero. General Morvix leaned forward. What is Protocol Zero? The scientist spoke slowly.
Infiltrate.
Eliminate. Collapse from the inside. Silence. Then someone said what they were all thinking. We didn't catch a prisoner. Triggered a weapon. Meanwhile, on a nearby moon colony called Rethar Prime, strange things began happening. Power. Grids failed. Communication towers shut down. Entire defense systems blinked offline at first. The Gorthons blamed solar flares, then sabotage. But when patrols were sent to investigate, they never returned. Each time, a squad went out. They disappeared, not one trace in the center of the moon's capital. The mayor received a message delivered without a ship, without a signal. It appeared on every screen at once. A single sentence. Your silence is next. Panic spread. Families tried to flee. Ships were overloaded. People screamed. But before anyone could escape, the docking systems jammed, and the sky turned black. The human had arrived. He didn't need weapons. He was the weapon, back at high command. General Morvix watched Rethar Prime go dark in real time. He turned to his officers. Activate the defense beacon. Call every fleet. I want every ship ready to hunt this human down. An admiral raised a shaky hand. Sir, if he could destroy the Kravax by himself, what makes you think a fleet will stop him? Because we don't have a choice. Across the Empire, command stations lit up with red alerts. The name Project Revenant spread across screens like a virus. Gorthon. Officials started sealing cities. Colonies went dark on purpose, trying to hide. Even top leaders began to wear body. Double's fear was spreading faster than any weapon, but none of it worked, because the human didn't strike with armies or missiles. He used their own systems. He walked through Fruels. He appeared in camera feeds where no one had been. He turned off oxygen in outposts without ever stepping inside. He whispered from inside their ships without needing a radio, and everywhere he went, he left behind the same message. You opened the cage. The Empire tried to send assassins. They never came back. They tried to nuke entire zones. The blasts went off. But only after he had already moved on, and then came the final mistake. Gorthon Intelligence Director released a public message. She stood tall in front of the media, her voice hard. This human is not a god. He is not a ghost. He bleeds. He can be killed. An hour later, her bodyguards found her quarters empty. On her wall, burned into the metal, were her own words. He can be killed. Except someone had crossed them out. Wrote underneath, try. General Morvix finally understood. This wasn't about revenge. This wasn't about a war between species. This was about something older, something colder. Earth had prepared for this. They knew someone, someday, would try to break them. So they created something that could never be broken. A weapon that didn't need a fleet. A soldier who couldn't be traced, stopped, or reasoned with. And when the Gorthons took him prisoner, they didn't win. They unleashed him across the stars. Earth stayed silent. No messages, no threats, no fleets. They didn't have to say anything because one man was enough. One human had become the storm, and the Gorthon Empire was already drowning in it. The Gorthon Council stared at the new star map in horror. Red marks spread across the glowing display, dozens of red dots that hadn't been there yesterday. Each one was a colony that had gone silent. No signals, no ships, no survivors. They hadn't been attacked. They had simply vanished. High Commander Salvik stood over the map, jaw tight, fists clenched. "This is not war," he said quietly. "This is a shadow moving through our empire." "No one saw him," said Admiral Korth. "No sensors picked him up. He just appeared, then the colony died," Counselor Veltra added. "We haven't lost this many outposts in centuries, not even during the Black Sun War. And not to one human," Salvik snapped. But it wasn't just one human anymore. It was the idea of him. Soldiers across the empire were deserting. Pilots refused to launch. Its colonies were requesting protection from their own leadership too, afraid to be left alone. The legend was growing faster than the truth. Every night, more planets went dark. Every morning, more commanders were found dead with messages burned into their walls. Always short, always cold. Your turn. Next. Knock. The Gorthon Empire was collapsing from the inside. In a hidden vault below the Gorthon Military Corps, Salvik met with a secret group, his last hope. 10 of the most dangerous war thinkers in the galaxy. Engineers, scientists, strategists, no. Politicians, no delay. "I want answers," Salvik said. "Now." A tall woman stepped forward. Her name was Dr. Kale. Her face was pale and thin, and her eyes didn't blink. "We're not fighting a soldier," she said. "We're fighting a ghost written in code." "Explain." Project Revenant was not made for battle. He was made for disappearance. He was trained to erase. No trail, no trace, no evidence. But Earth went further. She tapped a screen. It showed a diagram of a human brain merged with something glowing and unnatural. They merged his mind with dark code quantum architecture. He is not just hacking systems, he's inside them. Once he's touched your networks, he doesn't leave. He becomes part of them, so he's watching. "Us now?" one general asked. Kale nodded. "If you're using Gorthon systems." "Yes." A silence fell over the room. Then Salvik asked the question no one wanted to say aloud. "Can he be stopped?" Kale looked at him. "No, not by you." They turned to the screen again. More red dots appeared. Rethor Prime, gone. Malkar IV, gone. The Outer Void Defense Line, gone. Each destroyed without a sound. No battles, no resistance. Ships sent to investigate were never heard from again. And in each case, only one thing was left behind. A single word, written into space beacons, scratched into docking bays, carved into stone. Echo. It was the name of his protocol, and now the word haunted every officer in the Gorthon military. On the edge of the Empire, a massive fleet of 300 ships stood ready. The last stronghold, the Supreme Armada, the Empire's pride, built to fight entire civilizations. Admiral Drax led it from the flagship Gorthon Vow. He had been ordered to hold the line no matter what. He wasn't afraid of legends. He didn't believe in ghosts. Deploy drones. "Full sensor sweep," Drax ordered. The scans came back clean. No sign of ships. No sign of life. Nothing on long-range radar. "Any interference?" "None, sir." "Then we wait." The fleet sat in place, engines humming quietly. Hours passed. Then one of the ships went dark. The screen blinked. "No signal from Ironstorm, sir." "Re-establish." "Trying." It's gone. Gone. How? We don't know. Then another ship vanished. Then two more. No attacks. No explosions. Just black screens. One by one, the ships winked out. Drax stood, his voice tight, arm all weapons, full shields, battle positions. But even as he shouted, the lights on the Gorthan Vow dimmed, and then every screen turned on at once. His face appeared. The human, still calm, still silent. He stared directly into the Admiral's eyes. Then he spoke. The walls fall quietly. The lights went out. The Gorthan Council received one final message from Admiral Drax. It was only 3 words. He is here, and nothing. The Supreme Armada was gone. All 300 ships, no survivors, no wreckage, just silence. High Commander Salvik sat in his office, lights off, staring into the dark. He didn't ask for reports anymore. He didn't give orders. He simply waited. He knew it now. They all knew it. They weren't fighting Earth. They were being dismantled, piece by piece, system by system, world by world, by the very thing they had taken prisoner. Only it was never a prisoner. It was a warning, a whisper, a message that had grown into something no empire could control. And that message was moving closer to the heart of their world, where the Gorthan Emperor waited, with no way to stop what was coming. The command center of the Creel flagship pulsed with warning lights. Red symbols flashed across the holographic screens. Alarms howled through the ship's corridors like dying animals. Creel officers barked orders in panic, their voices trembling. Admiral Sharn's claws tapped the control panel, trying to make sense of what had just happened. One moment, they were chasing the human ship. The next, that same ship had turned on them, disabling half their fleet in minutes. How did one vessel do this? Sharn growled, his voice low and filled with rage. No one dared answer. They all feared what was coming, not from their admiral, but from the humans, far above. In the cold stretch of space, Mason's warship stood like a shadow against the stars. It wasn't sleek or beautiful like Creel ships. It was sharp, black, and terrifying. Every inch of it looked like it was made for war. Surface was covered with armor. No Creel weapon could crack. And inside, Mason stood at the center of the bridge, staring at the enemy fleet as it scrambled like ants beneath him. The crew around him moved quickly. They weren't soldiers from Earth. They were something else now. Freed prisoners, mercenaries, exiles, all united under one human. They followed him not because of money or orders, but because they believed in him. Mason had shown them what it meant to be human, to fight back. Even when the whole galaxy stood against you, Admiral, a voice crackled over the Creel intercom. It was Mason, calm, cold. I suggest you surrender. This is your final warning. Sharn's throat clenched. He looked around. The once mighty Creel fleet had been shattered. Half their ships were dead in space. The others were damaged, confused, or turning tail and fleeing. But surrender to a human? To one man? Never. Sharn slammed a fist on the console. Prepare the Nova Corps gasps filled the command deck. But Admiral, that will destroy everything within 10 sectors. Our own ships, I said, prepare it. Sharn barked. They obeyed. Meanwhile, Mason stood quietly on his bridge. He had guessed the Creel would try something desperate. His eyes narrowed. They'll try to take us all with them, he said. Launch the second wave. From the side of his flagship, several smaller ships launched like arrows. But these weren't just attack crafts. They were designed for infiltration. Their purpose: get inside the Creel flagship before it activated its self-destruct. Inside one of them was Lexi, the young engineer who had once been a prisoner like Mason. Now she wore tactical gear, a helmet, and a pulse rifle. But her eyes still held that spark the fire Mason had lit in her. She moved through tight corridors, leading her squad toward the heart of the Creel ship. Cut through the side vent, she whispered. They entered silently, crawling through metal tubes, avoiding guards. The closer they got to the core, the hotter the air became. The Nova Core wasn't meant to be handled manually. It was dangerous, unstable. But the Creel were desperate. Lexi's hand reached out and touched the side of the glowing chamber. Her scanner blinked red. 10 minutes to overload, she said into her coms. Back on the bridge, Mason nodded. You know what to do? Lexi didn't answer. She was already moving. At the core's control panel, Creel engineers worked quickly, their faces covered in sweat. Lexi and her team burst in, weapons raised. Step away from the panel, she shouted. One Creel lunged toward the controls. Lexi didn't hesitate. A sharp blast dropped him before he could finish his move. The others froze. I said, step away. They obeyed. She moved forward, fingers flying across the interface. Alien code filled the screen. Mason had taught her some, but she mostly relied on instinct now. The core's power levels were rising fast. If she couldn't shut it down soon, the entire system would vanish in a fireball. Lexi, Mason's voice came through. Time. 8 minutes. Outside, Mason's ships were finishing the cleanup. The Creel fleet had lost. Their command structure was in ruins. Some tried to send distress calls. Others just drifted, empty and defeated. Admiral Shern stared. At the screen, as Lexi's team appeared on the feed, he snarled. Send drones, he ordered. Kill them all. But the order never reached. Mason's infiltration team had already sliced through the command network. Sharn's orders were being eaten by a virus, a human-made virus that rewrote Creo, on the Bridge of Chaos. On the bridge of Mason's ship, the crew watched as the enemy flagship flickered and dimmed. Then Lexi's voice came through. We got it. The bridge erupted in quiet cheers. Mason allowed himself a small smile. Bring them home. The infiltrators pulled back, leaving the Nova Core disabled. The Creel flagship now floated, blind and broken. Mason opened a wide transmission across the sector. To any Creel who still breathe, your war is over. This galaxy no longer belongs to you, no one answered. Because they knew he was right. On a dozen worlds, news of the battle spread like wildfire. The Creel had been beaten by a single human and his ragtag crew. Fear turned into questions. Questions turned into hope. Maybe humans were not just survivors. Maybe they were something more. As Lexi returned to the ship, Mason met her at the airlock. She was covered in sweat, grease, and blood, but smiling. Nice work, he said. Still breathing, she replied. They walked to the bridge together. You think this is over? She asked. No, Mason said. It's just the beginning. Above them, the stars were quiet. But not for long. Something had changed in the galaxy. And the Creel weren't the only ones watching. In the shadows, far beyond the battlefields, other empires had seen what a single human could do, and now they were preparing. Because they knew if one human prisoner could destroy a fleet, and what would happen when all of humanity came back? The galaxy had awakened something. Something ancient. Something angry. And it would never sleep again. The stars were burning. Ships tore across the sky like angry wasps, their engines leaving trails of fire. The Great Void Armada was falling apart. Screams filled the command decks. Signals from across their empire were going dark, one by one. Planets once marked with the Void Empire's banners were now gone, erased. Some were simply ash, others taken over by something they didn't understand. It all started with a single human, and now it was ending with one too. Inside the Central Command Station of the Void High Lords deep in the Nabrak system, panic spread like a virus. Generals yelled over each other. Holograms of battle reports flickered red. The Supreme Strategist, a cold and ancient creature known as Veroth, stood still. His long fingers twitched behind his back. For a moment he said nothing. Then, in a quiet voice, he whispered, "Bring me the human. I want to see the prisoner." Silence fell. Everyone stared at him. But Supreme One Enaid stammered. He escaped long ago. The virus, the ships, the destruction. It's all from him. No, Verith said, his eyes glowing. That human is no longer a prisoner. He is something else now. And we must end him. before he ends us. Far away, on the bridge of a human warship, shaped like a dagger of obsidian, Commander Saren stood still, eyes locked on a target in the distance. Beside him, the one they once called Prisoner 79 sat calmly, dressed in a black uniform with no rank. His name was Ethan Ward. He watched the holograms, planet after planet falling, the enemy's fleet numbers shrinking, as virus had done, most of the work spreading through their technology like fire and dry grass. But the real fear came not from the virus, it came from him. Ethan turned to Saren. Time to end this. Saren nodded. The final system Nebrex, their last stronghold. Ethan closed his eyes for a second, remembering everything. The pain, the cell, the hunger. The way they had laughed at his screams. How they studied him like an insect. He had begged them to stop. They didn't. Not until he stopped being human. He opened his eyes. They glowed faintly now from the enhancements. From what he had become. Let's go, he said. In the Void Command Center, Veroth stood before a giant screen. On it was earth green. Blue, glowing like a jewel. His voice trembled. We shouldn't have touched their kind, he muttered. We thought them weak. Primitive. But we didn't know. Suddenly, alarms screamed. Human ships approaching. A voice shouted. Thousands of red dots appeared on the screens. Human ships. All armed, all fast. All deadly. Ethan's fleet. They're here, Veerth said. All of them. Outside, the battle began. Missiles streaked across space. Defense cannons. Fired from the station, human ships twisted and dodged with terrifying speed. Ethan's virus had crippled the enemy's systems. Some void ships couldn't fire. Others exploded from within as systems melted. Ethan's ship pushed forward like a spear. Then, did something strange. He asked for a Lindirect communication with. The enemy command it was granted. On the Void High Lord's screen, Ethan appeared. Calm, clean, controlled. Do you understand what you started? Ethan asked. Vuroth didn't answer. He only stared. You tortured me. You broke my bones. You tried to learn my secrets. But all you found was fear. I am not here for revenge. I'm here to make sure you can't hurt anyone else, ever again. Veerth stepped forward. You are one human. We are billions. No, Ethan said. You are billions. The signal cut, and behind him, a second fleet of human ships dropped out of warp. Vuroth whispered, It's over. The battle didn't last long. Human ships unleashed dark energy weapons tearing through the station's shields. Explosions rocked the sky. Varath tried to flee but found no escape. His final view was of Ethan standing tall on the bridge, staring through the screen, not angry. Just quiet, then the station exploded. A few hours later, in Earth's orbit, celebrations erupted. Humanity had survived, and Ethan Ward, the one they had taken, became a legend. Not because he destroyed the Void Empire, but because he survived it, and made sure it would never rise again. People asked him afterward how he did it, how he survived the pain, the isolation, the loss. His answer was simple. You don't break a human, he said. You only teach them how to fight back. The galaxy listened, and it never forgot.